Do you know who this is? Of course not. It's my uncle. And do you know who this is? Neither do I. I work for the Human Resources Department at a local engineering firm. I also just applied for another job at a far more prestigious agency. In that interview, I was pretty confident I'd get the job. I knew exactly how this process worked since I'm usually on the other side of the table interviewing candidates just like myself at my current firm. The interviewers told me that I and one other individual were the strongest candidates. I'm pretty sure I'll beat them out.
Horizontv, the beacon for the nation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amani juu yako mtazamaji. Wanakwetu wanatambua kama Mariam Mwacharo. Unatizama The Sabah Show. Naam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, welcome to the second segment of the Sabah Show. Here, Healthy Thursdays today with Mariam Mwacharo. Today we are tackling mental health, as I went on ahead to tell you on the very first segment when we were doing the newspaper review. Now, you know, many people usually shy away from mental health as a topic. When they begin to speak about it, it's even regarded as a taboo in our African and Kenyan context. And it is something that we need to realize that is there and it is affecting our community. I remember yesterday when I was preparing for this topic all through the week, yesterday I got calls from some of my friends and they told me very devastating stories. And one thing to note, and I will ask the good doctor who will join me very shortly, one thing to note, people most of the time regard, you know, mental health disabilities or disorders with possibly the lack of faith, especially in our Muslim community. And I would like us to delve into that. Now, important to note as well is that in the budgetary allocation, which is not a lot, the health budgetary allocation, only 0.5% is allocated to mental health. Now, with me to discuss mental health and today narrowing down on depression, if you can take a look at your screens right now, if I may ask my producer, my very good producer there, Muhammad Shakombo, to show you some of the stories that have been making headlines over depression in our country. Muhammad Shakombo, if you can help me show our viewers there, you know, some of the stories on depression that have been covered on the news. It is devastating. It is saddening. It is heartbreaking. And as I was speaking with the doctor just a few minutes ago, she actually did agree that suicide is a side effect of depression. And these are cases that we have heard of in our country for so long. So with me to discuss mental health and depression in general is the good doctor psychologist Tima Khamis, who is a clinical consultant, and psychologist. And thank you very much for joining me and making time to actually grace Healthy Thursday today. If I may just begin, maybe you can give us an understanding of what mental health actually is.
Okay. Thank you for having me today, Mariam.
You're welcome.
Let me start by saying this. We all have mental health. Okay? You have mental health, I have mental health, and everyone else has mental health. The same way you have physical health is the same way you have mental health.
Yes.
Mental health can either be poor mental health or one can be mentally healthy. Now, with mental health, what we say is that mental health constitutes thoughts, feelings, and behavior. And all these have to be functioning well so as, you know, so that someone cannot fall into the category of experiencing mental health difficulties, for example. Okay? Now, there is this misconception by some people that mental health is not important or mental health does not really concern them. Yeah?
Yeah.
However, mental health concerns all of us. Okay? And if it hasn't affected you, it can affect your family member, it can affect your friend, it can affect your neighbor, and therefore this is something that we need to be very much aware of. It's something that we need to fight the stigma that is already existing against, because there's a lot of stigma towards mental health. Okay? And this stigma is worldwide. Yeah? It is there all over the world. The only difference is that it is more maybe in African countries, and this is because of the African context that we are in. At the moment, if you look at the Western world, there's a lot that's being done in terms of fighting the stigma against mental health. And you'll find people like celebrities coming out and saying, you know, I have depression, I have anxiety, I'm struggling with OCD, you know, or I was bullied in the past. And all this is done in an attempt to fight the stigma against mental health. Yeah, but overall, all of us have mental health.
So it can either be poor or it can be,
Yes.
you can have a good you can be mentally healthy.
Yeah.
So what are some of the most common mental disorders?
Okay, yeah. So when you look at the different types of mental health disorders, we have mood disorders, okay, and depression falls under that category. We have anxiety disorders. So with anxiety disorders, we have conditions like panic disorder, okay, PTSD falls under that category, obsessive compulsive disorder falls under that category. Then we have personality disorders, okay, we have eating disorders, and we have substance abuse disorders. So
Okay.
those are the major categories of mental
disorders.
health disorders.
So substance abuse is actually a mental disorder.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how can you tell if you have a mental problem? How can you tell?
Okay, so you can tell that by certain changes, noticing certain changes in thinking, behaving, or feeling. Okay, so if you for example, you know yourself better more than anyone else. So if you realize that your thinking is now more towards negative thinking, for example, okay, as opposed to positive thinking, then you would know that, you know, what's going on here? Why am I constantly thinking negatively? Okay, behavior. If you are someone who, you know, is out and about, who gets on with your work, you know, and then all of a sudden you feel like you don't want to go out, you just want to stay indoors and you don't want to do anything, then you would wonder what's going on here, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so those are the telltale signs. And then, you know, your emotions, yeah? So if you're someone who maybe usually feels happy, content, you know, upbeat, joyful, and then all of a sudden you're now feeling sad most of the times, then that would worry you and that would concern you, and then you'd ask yourself, what's going on here? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay?
Okay.
And of course, different disorders have their own different symptoms and their signs that can alert you or tell you that something is not right here. Yeah.
I'm just taking a look at my Facebook, and as I've told you, I've said earlier, when I posted this on my WhatsApp status, I got calls from my friends, and just looking at my Facebook here in my inbox, somebody, Kasim here, he says, this is a very good topic that you're delving into, Mariam. Congratulations that we are speaking about this. I personally feel, especially men in our African context, may have undergone a lot of depression more than people realize. Tell the good doctor to tell us the telltale signs of how someone can show depression. Okay, we will be coming to that. And then Ochieng Abongo there has liked our, what is happening in our country? Let me just get back to that. But these are some of the comments. Let me just get back to these comments that I'm receiving on my Facebook. And people are already sending in questions. But if I may just come back to you, Daktari, if I may ask, these are the symptoms that are depicted by someone who's mentally ill or unhealthy. Is it the same as being mentally unstable? Is it the same? And how do you see mental instability in someone?
Okay, so now, so these are some of the symptoms. The ones I mentioned are the ones that you can maybe be aware of, and then make a decision whether to seek, you know, help or do something else about it. All right. So usually, what happens is that when people experience some of these changes in terms of thinking, feeling, and behaving, it can be frightening, okay, and very confusing in the beginning because you would not know what's happening to you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So at that point, you can either talk to someone about how you're feeling. It doesn't necessarily have to be a mental health professional. You can share this with someone else and say, oh, this is how I'm feeling, you know. And another thing is the period at which all this lasts. So if you constantly are feeling sad daily, you know, it goes on and on and on
Yeah.
for maybe 2 weeks period, and we'll get into the details when we talk about depression.
Yeah.
Then of course, then this would be a sign that maybe something serious is going on here. So I need to seek mental health. And it's different from occasional sadness, yeah, which we do all experience from one time or another.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are all human, and by the mere fact that we are human, yes, we are going to undergo certain challenges in life. So the question is, how do you deal with these challenges? How do you cope with these challenges? Yeah? And how do you bounce back from these challenges? And that's where resilience comes in.
Okay.
So if you're undergoing all these difficulties for a certain period of time and you feel it's getting worse and there's no relief, then that's when you seek mental health, mental help. Okay? And our mental health, you know, stability varies from time to time. Okay? Today, you could be having a good day, you know, you're happy, you're upbeat, joyful, but tomorrow, depending on circumstances, you could be having, you know, maybe a sad day, if you allow me to say that.
Yeah.
And it's okay, as long as you bounce back from that and move on. Yeah? So if you stay in that sadness for a long time, for a long period of time, that is when, as mental health professionals, we say, now there's something else going on here. Let's look at it. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. But like for you, Mariam, for example, if today in one of the shows you realize that, oh, the show didn't go as well as you had planned it to go,
Yeah.
you might get disappointed.
Yes.
Which is normal, by the way. It's a normal reaction, it's a normal emotion. But the expectation is you recover from that disappointment and move on. But if you don't, and this disappointment carries on to tomorrow and the day after, and you criticize yourself and you blame yourself, then that becomes a worry, isn't it? Yeah, especially if it goes on for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's someone who has asked a question about society, and I'll come to that very soon, but just important to notice that we should remember, you know, some people, he said, many people, when you talk to them about a problem, they tell you, oh, check yourself, oh, this is normal, oh, what is wrong with you, you know? So we'll come back to that. But somebody here is asking me, he's called Muz, if I got that, Muz Khami, I hope I got that right. He says, like, in our human anatomy, we are meant to detect danger, and that is how our bodies protect themselves. So when you talk about negatively thinking about yourself, do you mean that even our human anatomy is wrong? He's given an example. Say, for example, if you become a mother, and you take your child to school, you always have that sense of worry if your child is safe, if they're going to be okay, are they going to be bullied, have they eaten? All day you will worry as a mother, until the time when you get your child back. And this is normal in every human being. But does it mean a mental disability or disableness of some kind?
Not necessarily. Yeah, I know moms tend to worry about their kids, they tend to worry about their families, which is normal, okay? However, when it comes to worry, if it's excessive worry that will interfere with your day-to-day functioning, then that is when, you know, we say that maybe there's a mental health condition going on. Yeah?
Yeah.
Worry that will interfere with your day-to-day functioning.
Okay.
So excessive worry, we're talking about anxiety here. So if you're too anxious to an extent that you will constantly call school to check on your kid, how your kid is doing, or when your kid comes back home, you're constantly asking them questions, you know, then of course that will become a worry. So we all worry, I agree. Worrying is normal. Some moms do tend to worry more than others, I agree with that. However, it only becomes a concern if this worry interferes with your day-to-day functioning.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And it becomes mentally debilitating, so that, you know, it stops you from carrying on with the day-to-day activities that you usually engage in.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And the diagnosis has to be made by a mental health professional. I know people have gotten into this habit of going to Google and reading about signs and symptoms and giving themselves diagnoses.
Yes.
To be honest, diagnosis needs to be done by a mental health professional after they've taken history, after they've done assessments, and that's when they can come up with diagnosis.
Yeah.
But worry on its own is not a mental health concern.
Condition. Oh, okay. Okay, we'll come back to that, the prognosis and diagnosis of mental health. Definitely, this is a hot topic. We've already introduced it. When we come back, we'll start narrowing down to depression, which is our main area of concern today. See you in a short while. Please remember, you can contribute to this topic on our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Horizontv Kenya, or you can chat with me directly on my Facebook at Mariam Kasim. See you in a short while. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amani juu yako mtazamaji, wanakwetu wanatambua kama Mariam Mwacharo. Unatizama The Sabah Show.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Healthy Thursday is not just about diseases. It's about food, lifestyle, milestones in the medical practitioner's field, especially in our Muslim Ummah, and more so, your health. Discover breakthroughs and milestones in the medical field. Learn how to manage diseases. Join the discussion. Make better decisions on your meal plans. Improve your lifestyle.
All the doctors who are there were tired of working in maternity and taking care of women. And they say, you are the new kid on the block. We are leaving this department to you.
Healthy Thursday is about you, about your family, your lifestyle. So keep it locked Horizon TV on Healthy Thursday with me, Mariam Mwacharo.
Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said the believers encourage people to reconcile relations with those who have cut them off. Give charity to those who have
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amani juu yako mtazamaji, wanakwetu wanatambua kama Mariam Mwacharo. Unatizama The Sabah Show. Naam, ahlan wa sahlan, shukran sana kwa kuendelea kutegea the premier Islamic TV station Horizon TV. Unatizama Healthy Thursdays, nami wako Mariam Mwacharo. Leo we're talking about mental health, and owing to depression in the country, the rate of depression that we have had been covered in the news on and off again and again, it is heartbreaking, saddening, and we just need to put it out there and actually give awareness to our public. So we have been joined by a consultant, clinical consultant rather, and psychologist, Dr. Thima Khamis, and she already gave us a background of what mental health is. Now let us narrow down to depression. What is depression?
Okay. Now, depression is a type of mental health disorder, and it is classified as a mood disorder.
Mood disorder, okay.
Yes. Yeah. Depression, when we look at the symptoms of depression, let's start with the symptoms of depression. The symptoms of depression are sadness, okay? People who have depression usually have sadness that they carry with them on a day-to-day basis. Yes? And some of them even describe having like a cloud of sadness that is almost overwhelming them. And this is on a day-to-day basis. Another thing that clients with depression present with is insomnia. Okay?
Okay.
They find it difficult to sleep. So it can either be insomnia or excessive sleeping. Yeah? Loss of appetite or overeating. Yes? Lack of concentration. Yes? So they would find it difficult to concentrate on things that maybe they used to find it, easy to concentrate. The other thing is irritability. Okay? Guilt and blame. They blame themselves a lot and they feel guilty about things that maybe they shouldn't even be feeling guilty about. Yes? Pessimism. All right? Negative thinking. They fall into that pattern of negative thinking. And this negative thinking is negative thinking towards themselves and towards the world. So they would think negatively about other people, about everything that's around them. So there's no positivity in their life. And it's because of this sadness that's clouding them. Okay? So there would be a lot of negativity. Their thinking pattern changes dramatically. Okay? It changes more into negative thinking, and we have what we call negative automatic thoughts. So they fall into that sort of thinking. Yeah? So anything they're thinking of is negative. Yeah? Anything they're thinking of is negative. Yes? And what also happens is they fall into black and white thinking.
Okay.
Instead of looking at something from different perspectives, they would say it's either this or that. There's no other way of looking at this.
Okay.
All right?
So they're not open-minded.
Yes, yeah. So we call that cognitive distortions. Yes, cognitive distortions. Yeah. So, yes, and in worst case scenarios, when depression is severe, then people can have suicidal thoughts. All right? They can have suicidal thoughts. And when they have suicidal thoughts, this is when now they're thinking that, oh, what's the point? Yeah? What's the point of living? I might as well die. Yeah? I'm better off. Maybe my family members are better off without me.
Yeah.
And hopelessness and helplessness. Yes? By the time they're suicidal, they're already hopeless and helpless. They feel like no one can help them. They cannot help themselves. Okay? And they feel stuck. They feel trapped. They cannot get out of the situation they are in. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the main symptoms of depression.
Depression.
And these symptoms have to happen at least every day in a period of 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have these symptoms for a day, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're depressed. Yeah.
Yes.
They have to go on for a period of 2 weeks for you to get a diagnosis of depression. And as I mentioned earlier, when you go to see a mental health specialist, they have to take your history, they have to do an assessment, and then they will pick all these symptoms. And that's when you can be given a diagnosis of depression.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is important to note, if you are listening, if you suspect that you are depressed, as the good doctor said, do not go to Sheikh Google and read, and then, through Al-Habib Wi-Fi kama vile producer wangu Shakombo anavyoniambia hivi sasa, alafu ujipatie mwenyewe kwamba no, I am depressed. No, go to a mental health professional who can that's the only person who can diagnose you. Now there's a question. Is depression the same as stress?
No, they are two different things.
Okay.
Yes, I've already gone through the
depression.
symptoms of stress. With stress, stress is about pressure and strain. Feeling that pressure, feeling that strain. Yes, and again, stress is a normal. Yeah, we all undergo stress from time to time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sometimes we need this stress to prepare ourselves for whatever is ahead.
Yes.
So, for example, if you have a job interview, you're going to get stressed, while preparing, thinking whether it will go well or not. It's normal, yeah? But once you've done the interview, the stress goes away. However, there's this stress that can go on over a long period of time. Let's look at maybe work-related stress, for example. Someone is working at a place where they're not happy, they're undervalued, they're not appreciated, they don't even love their jobs. Okay? So they get stressed because maybe the work is overwhelming. And this stress builds up over a period of time. Now, this stress that builds up over a period of time can lead into depression.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was my
But there are
next
two
question.
different things.
What can actually cause depression?
Yeah, so that's one of the things. So prolonged stress can lead into depression.
Okay.
Yeah. All right? Yeah.
What-
But we cannot avoid stress altogether.
Definitely.
What we need to know is to how to manage this stress.
Okay.
Yes? How
Yeah.
do we manage this stress that can come up, from time to time?
Okay.
And that's where coping skills come in.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
What
You-
are some other factors that actually can cause someone to be depressed apart from stress?
Okay. Now, when you look at the causes of depression, I like starting with childhood experiences. Okay? Childhood experiences. So, a child, for example, who's come from a dysfunctional family, yes? A child who comes from a family where there was domestic violence going on. A child who's undergone either physical, emotional, or sexual abuse would be at risk of developing depression later on in life. Okay? Yes? So these are family sort of background risk factors that can predispose one into getting depression.
Yeah.
If you look at school experiences, okay, what sort of school experiences has this child has this child had in the past? Okay, was this child bullied at school? Did this child get a sense of belonging at school? I have seen so many cases of children who were bullied at school and ended up getting depression later on in life. Yeah, I've seen quite a number of young people who come to see me who have depression, and when you look back at their history, they've had a long bullying experience.
In school.
Yeah, which has an impact on their self-esteem, and which makes them, feel very hopeless, helpless, maybe not wanted,
Yeah.
and they grow up feeling like they're unloved, they're unworthy, they get certain core beliefs related to that sort of experience.
Okay.
So school experiences are also very important. Okay? Moving from childhood experiences, there are biological factors as well that
Okay.
can lead to
To
depression. Genetic. Some studies have indicated that depression runs in families. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. However, more studies need to be carried out to really confirm these findings. Okay? But some studies have shown that. Personality. The people who have sort of pessimistic kind of personalities, they tend to think more on the negative side than the positive side. Okay? So these kind of people are more likely to get depression.
Depressed,
More than someone who thinks positively most of the times. Okay? So moving from that, we also have day-to-day, major life events. Okay? So think of divorce, think of work-related stress, okay? Think of maybe unhappy family relationships, all right? Domestic violence, all these can lead to someone eventually getting depression.
Okay.
Yeah.
According to the research that we were doing on our research desk, we got to learn that the different types of depression
Yeah.
are there.
Yeah.
Can you tell us some of them?
Yeah. Okay. There's major depression. Okay. Then, which is the most common type of depression?
Major depression.
Yes. Then there is postnatal depression that some moms can get after having a baby.
Yeah.
Then we have seasonal affective disorder, which is not so common here, maybe in Africa, but in places where they have seasons, where you have winter, spring, summer. So some people do get depression during winter.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll find that during the whole period of winter, they fall into depression.
Depression.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's reactive depression, and this is depression that results as that comes about as a result of major life events. Okay, so for example, bereavement. Someone has lost a family member,
Yeah.
and then maybe they're not coping so well, so they fall into depression. Being in maybe not in a very happy marriage, for example. Okay,
So it is safe to say that when you're also in a country that has a lot of turmoil, a lot of conflict, citizens can actually become depressed.
Yes,
It's safe to say that.
The environment factors play a very big role as well. So
Yeah.
it's an interplay of environmental factors, social factors, biological factors, okay, which all come into play. And then if you already have the risk factors, which make you more likely to get depression, then you will get depression. Based on all these. All right?
Yeah. Before we take this short break, this person, like 5 people have already asked this question. Does society have a role to play in terms of actually causing depression on a person? Because there's someone who was asked, can your family make you, be depressed? Someone else asked, does society also, can society lead you to becoming depressed? You see, like for example, you already said sometimes like school bullying, bullying in school. And there was a story just yesterday that was covered on the papers also today about a teacher. I don't know if you saw that story, who actually called out on a girl student about having menstrual, her menstrual blood, and called her dirty. So this girl went home and actually committed suicide.
Oh no.
Yes. So there must have been a cause from that. Possibly, we don't know. Maybe the environment wasn't very friendly for this lady, but just because she was called dirty and she was called out by a female teacher, she went home and actually committed suicide. And that story was in the papers today. So can society actually lead you to becoming depressed?
Definitely.
Because of the misconceptions and beliefs that we do have.
Yes. Especially, when you look at interactions or relationships.
Yeah, there is the if you look at your screens right now. That's the story.
When you look at interpersonal relationships, from what I've seen from my own experience, they can lead to someone developing depression. Because are these interactions harmonious? Okay, or are these interactions based on criticism, putting someone down, not appreciated, not feeling like you're not being appreciated, being called names. Look at this girl, the teacher called her dirty. I wonder what that dirty reminded her of. Has she been called dirty before? Has she been, undervalued before? Has she been bullied before? It must have triggered something in her, something really strong that made her decide to, take her own life. I've seen such cases. I have seen a case of this young, lady who was bullied for a long time at school, really long time, and then she just fell out with a friend. She got into an argument with a friend, and the next thing she did is went home and tried to kill herself. Luckily, she was saved. But then what occurred is that the disagreement she had with her friend was the last straw on the camel's back, if you've heard of that sort of phrase. She had been pushed a lot. She had been called all sorts of names that you can think of. She'd been made to feel worthless, and that was the last straw. And that's when she said, okay, maybe people are better off without me. Let me just take my own life. And luckily she was saved, you see. And when she came for therapy is when we talked about all these things, and she gave me her history, a long history of bullying. Bullying should not be taken lightly. It does have an impact on a child's emotional well-being. And of course, bullying can happen at work. Bullying can happen at home. So yes, the environment can be a trigger on its own. Which can lead to someone eventually having depression.
Definitely, it is sad, but it is true. As I have also headed on to tell you in the beginning, according to statistics, every 40 seconds, someone actually commits suicide. And at the same time, 300 million people across the globe every year commit suicide, let alone attempt their own lives. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the management of depression And I think the whole of this week maybe we'll just be delving into mental illness, since September is a mental health awareness month. Remember, you can join our discussion on our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Horizontv Kenya. Talk to me directly on my Facebook at Mariam Kasim. You can also call us on studio, ask us questions, inquire, let us learn from the lines on your screen, and also send us a text message also on the numbers on your screen, 21951. See you in a short while. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amani juu yako mtazamaji, wanakuita wanatambua kama Mariam Mwacharo, unatizama The Sabah Show.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Healthy Thursday is not just about diseases. It's about food, lifestyle, milestones in the medical practitioner's field, especially in our Muslim Ummah, and more so, your health. Discover breakthroughs and milestones in the medical field. Learn how to manage diseases. Join the discussion. Make better decisions on your meal plans. Improve your lifestyle.
All the doctors who are there were tired of working in maternity and taking care of women. And they say, you are the new kid on the block. We are leaving this department to you.
Healthy Thursday is about you, about your family, your lifestyle. So keep it locked Horizon TV on Healthy Thursday with me, Mariam Mwacharo.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amani juu yako mtazamaji, wanakuita wanatambua kama Mariam Mwacharo, unatizama The Sabah Show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are coming back to you. We're talking about mental health. Remember, you can call us on studio. Our lines are open. Tell us if you have any queries. Have you met somebody who has, is depressed? How did you deal with this person? How did you help this person? Are you in a community where you suspect that maybe it is actually triggering depression in the members of your community or your family? What are the misconceptions out there about mental health and especially depression? We have seen these cases so many times here in Kenya, and I have just read to you some of the statistics. Now, if we may continue, let's now take a look at management of depression in anyone. Daktari, where do you start? Because somebody has just asked me on Facebook. Say, for example, yes, I am constantly sad. I am constantly having negative thoughts. But how do I know? Which point do I actually know that I require help?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. I think I mentioned this earlier, that if these symptoms go on and on and on for a long period of time, and again, if these symptoms prevent you from carrying out your day-to-day activities, okay, they're almost interfering with your daily functioning, then that is a cause for concern. And that is when you either need to talk to someone and share with someone how you're feeling, or take the first step to go and see a mental health professional. And when you go to see a mental health professional is when the mental health professional will do an assessment. Okay, so there are certain psychological assessments that we use, like Beck's Depression Inventory, and there's another one called PHQ-9, and of course taking detailed history, taking detailed history, And that is when you'll be told whether you are having depression or not. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the severity of the symptoms. How severe are these symptoms, and are they interfering with my day-to-day functioning? Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we come to the direct management and treatment of depression, if I may ask you, what are some of the misconceptions surrounding this topic? Depression. Some of the misconceptions out there.
Yes. Okay. The misconceptions. Yeah. So the misconceptions are very much related to the mental health misconceptions.
Okay. Okay.
The first one that I've had a lot is that depression and mental health issues are not for the Africans.
Yeah.
They don't belong here within the African context. These are issues of other people, the Western world. We are strong. We're people who we get on with things, you know. Yeah. So it doesn't really belong to us. Okay?
Yeah.
And another misconception is that depression is a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of weakness. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a sign of failure. It just means you're struggling. All right? And therefore, there's a lot of normalization that needs to be done when people, you know, who have depression, or when clients come to see us. What I do is do a lot of normalization, you know, telling them it's okay. How you're feeling, if you're feeling very sad, if you're feeling hopeless, you're feeling helpless, and we can actually find out why you're feeling the way you are. We can join the dots, or we can trace back to where all this is coming from. Then, you know, we tell you, okay, yeah, it's normal to feel the way you're feeling.
Yeah.
Because most people have lots of questions, confusion, frustration. Others are even frightened. Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? I should not be feeling this way. I'm a strong person. I'm generally a strong person who gets on with things. Yeah?
Yeah.
I usually go to work, get the work done. Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling?
Yeah.
Does it mean I'm weak? Does it mean I've failed? You see?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what some of these people say to me, some of the clients. Yeah?
Yeah.
And the first thing that I have to do is to normalize all these experiences. Because as long as you're human, you will have emotions. And as long as you're human, you will undergo certain challenges in life. Yeah? And some of those challenges can lead you into getting a mental health condition. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a question that has come in. Somebody's asking, you know, we have these football fans all over the country, and some of them do actually take their lives because of, oh, this team did not win, or that team. Is that also a sign of depression?
But why would... Okay. Yes. So someone taking their own life because the team has lost.
Yes.
That could be, okay, an underlying symptom of something else that's major, that was not seen, that was not identified earlier on. Okay?
Okay.
Because if you look at, yes, you're a football fan,
Yeah.
yes, you're passionate about football, but your team has lost. Why would you take that decision of ending your life? It's so sad, really. It's so sad. But it usually means that there's something else that was going on in this person's life that was not picked up, that was not talked about. And therefore, sadly, he ends up his life.
Yeah.
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 And then people end up, you know, talking about, oh, someone so-and-so killed himself because he lost a match. But what about all the other underlying causes or reasons that maybe were not addressed and
Yeah.
were not identified? Yeah?
Yeah.
So that could just be the tip of the iceberg. There are other things that maybe were going on which
Yeah.
were not identified.
There's a whole mountain of
Yes,
issues.
yes.
So now let's take a look at treatment and management of depression. How do I manage depression? How do I treat depression?
Okay, so, yeah, now, when you go to see a mental health professional, and if this psychologist or counselor or psychiatrist diagnoses you with depression, yeah, then they will explain to you. Like, for example, once I have diagnosed someone with depression, I will explain to them that this is a treatment that I am going to be offering you. So the gold standard treatment for depression is CBT, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy,
Okay.
where I look at the thinking process and how it affects the emotions and behavior. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the cognitive distortions that we spoke about earlier on. Yeah. And depression can either be mild moderate, or severe.
Severe.
So CBT works very well.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
It's an evidence-based method which has been used, you know, and it works. It works.
Okay.
All right? And of course, the other thing that I would do, all right, is to really, really engage with this client, okay, and you know, have a non-judgmental attitude, okay, offer that care that this client needs, okay.
Yeah.
Because this client has come to me because he or she is confused and they want help.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hope, giving them hope that, you know what, you're going to get out of this. Offering that non-judgmental attitude, offering care, connecting, you know, meeting the needs of the client. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that so important.
Okay.
Yeah? And then there's another type of therapy that's called interpersonal therapy. Yeah? And when it comes to CBT, we also look at behavioral therapy, because another thing with people who are depressed is that they isolate themselves.
Yeah.
All right? They don't want to be with other people, either because other people might see through their vulnerability, or they've just lost interest in interacting with people. They've lost that interest. Yeah? So what's the point of going out and interacting with other people? Yeah, so they would rather be on their own. So what we do is that we encourage them to get involved in activities, and one step at a time. There's a time I had this client who had not left his home for 3 months. He would only go out to the shop, get milk and bread, and go back home for 3 good months, until his employer called me and mentioned to me that, you know what, one of my employees hasn't come to work for 3 months. Sometimes he won't answer my calls, and we are worried. Can we refer him to you? And I said, yes. And that's when he came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right? Yeah. So encouraging them slowly to get involved in day-to-day activities.
Yeah.
Because in worst-case scenarios, people quit their jobs.
Yeah.
And that makes things even worse for them, because now there's no source of income, yeah? Which makes them feel even more miserable and feel sorry for themselves. Yeah.
Okay, I'm being told that we are out of time, so maybe just parting shots. You know, your parting shot, and we shall continue definitely with this series of mental health disorders. Your parting shot to the community.
Okay.
Large.
Yeah. What I would like to say to the community is that we need a collective, you know, approach. We need to work together as a team so as to raise the awareness of mental health and fight the stigma against mental health. Yes? We need to do this collectively. Yes, mental health professionals are playing a big role in that, but we also need, for example, religious leaders, to bring up these topics.
Yes.
You know, talk about them, normalize them. Yes? Yeah, normalize them. Like, I wish we had time. I would have talked about a lecture that I had at Parklands Mosque once, and I was so moved by that lecture, because
definitely we'll have more time. We'll have more time even next week.
So yes,
we'll
so a collective approach, and if you feel like you have certain symptoms that suggest that you have mental health difficulty, please try and seek help. Don't wait until when it's too late. And, you know, try and seek help, because help is out there. You just need to look for it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Definitely we have learned so much today. I know we haven't completed everything, and next week, inshallah, when the good doctor is available, we'll definitely continue with this topic on mental health, possibly finish on depression, on what she actually wanted to outline on, you know, our religious leaders. And there's also questions that have arrived about our religious leaders. You know, somebody was also asking, most of the time when we see such deviant behavior, you know, somebody has detached from society and everything, we always start ruqya, you know. And is that the right approach, even maybe to a mental health disorder? So we'll definitely continue with this topic. Thank you very much for joining me. And I would like to say happy birthday to my producer, Muhammad Shakombo. And thank you very much for facilitating this show. And thank you to everybody who also facilitated the show. Definitely more thanks and special thanks to Sadiq Abitham AJ. Without, you know, Allah thank Allah for you, because you also help us in facilitating our shows, to all our technical producers and directors and our sound people. And thank you, Daktari, as well, for gracing our show. Definitely, I look forward to the next episode on mental health. And to our viewers, a big thank you to you, and thank you for contributing on our social media platforms. I will definitely be responding to all the messages that have come in on our Facebook and on my Facebook as well. And see you next week, inshallah, as we continue these episodes on mental disorders. From me, it's ma'as-salam.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.